What's happening? It's Janek Gwizdala. It's the Janek Gwizdala podcast, coming at you a little more organized than normal. Today, I have two main topics of conversation, two pieces of feedback I heard from you guys, from the audience, from the comments on Substack, from the comments on YouTube. It's about time management as a parent and all the things that go into that. Time management as a parenting musician, as I'm sure there are many people listening in that position, and perhaps some people listening that are thinking about getting into that position. We'll get to a ton of subcategories in that, and a few things that might surprise you, a few things that maybe you hopefully haven't thought of before that will help you. The other main topic of conversation today is going to be how to create good habits. That's something I have tried to start off 2023 by implementing. I've always had that on my mind. It's always been at the forefront of my process, but maybe not as much as it is right now as I try and push forward and launch some new projects and just become a little more streamlined, a little more effective, shall we say, and efficient. Especially that's all going to play. It's kind of all going to play into one big topic of how do we just get through the day and be efficient, be productive, make a living, all of those things as a musician and potentially as a parent, and all the other parameters that go into it. And later on in the podcast, in the episode, I'm going to announce the three kind of new big projects I have on the horizon. Really excited about them. Kind of hinted at them in the last episode, but kind of ready to pull the trigger on making them public in terms of what they're going to be and sort of lay out a bit of a timeline as to when you can expect them. So as it's so fresh, I'm literally in front of me under the camera. I've turned the volume down, but in front of me under the camera here is the baby monitor. In fact, so I'm going to hold that up to the camera. There you go. It says, "Good evening, Dad." That's a terrible shot. You can't really see anything, but that's the baby monitor. That's my daughter sleeping in the crib, and I'm parenting as I speak. Even though Chelsea's here, she's upstairs, I think reading maybe. We're kind of both on duty, and if there's a meltdown, I'm of course going to pause the podcast and go help. Sometimes I will say to Chelsea, here we go in the first piece of advice with parenting as a musician and trying to be productive at all different times of the day. First piece of advice I would say is the communication with your other half, your better half, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, whoever you co-parent with. Hopefully you are in a co-parenting situation. It's going to be a little different if you're a single parent. I'm afraid I can't comment on that from an experience standpoint as a parent. But the communication between the two of you is key. That's been the key with us. It's been the downfall when there's a downfall, and it's been the foundation when we both feel there's a solid foundation. So it's really good to talk about that stuff and just say, hey, you know what? I need an hour. How are you fixed? Can you handle this? Obviously, you try and balance and you try and support the other person as much as you can, because as anyone who's had a little kiddo running around or crawling around or screaming around knows, it's a lot of work. And maybe you have more than one. Maybe you have 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I'm here with the one, and that's already more than enough to add to our schedule as a married couple and as parents now. So communication thing is key, and I try and be as available as possible even when I'm working. If there's something, a call or something that I really can't get away from and Chelsea's here, then of course she's going to have to deal with that on her own. But yeah, just communicating about that is huge. And I have not been great at that in our first year and change of, at times I have not been great. I think both of us have had our moments where we're just like exhausted and overwhelmed, and the communication kind of gets put on the back burner rather. And the more we can remind each other to be conscious of that and just do it, the better. And I think we've kind of hit a great place now where we communicate a lot, as far ahead as we possibly can. Being musicians, it's not easy to predict things and to say, oh yeah, in 3 weeks I'm definitely going to be doing this. That gig is absolutely not going to be cancelled, and the phone will not ring, and somebody will not ask me to go to Portugal or something at the last minute. You know how it is, right? Like, things happen. So we try and plan as far ahead as possible, but we're very aware that things are subject to change as musicians. So I guess that's the first thing, is the communication between us as parents. And I will say, coming on from the Health and Fitness for Musicians episode, which was the last episode. If you didn't check that out, lots of information in there about how my story, especially the blog post on the Substack from last week as well. If you're not subscribed to my Substack blog, to my mailing list, to my newsletter, it's linked in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening along on a podcast platform, you can go to the show notes, and it's janekgwizdala.substack.com. That is the epicenter of everything I'm doing now. That's where everything kind of launches from. And that's where a lot of these things are that I'm going to reference. I put a lot of information into those blog posts. I post lessons. I post all kinds of stuff there. It's kind of just a place for my brain to spill out as and when it needs to every couple of days. And the health and fitness thing was something much requested, and I got into quite a lot of detail in terms of my journey with that from my teens, 20s, 30s to where I am now, kind of midlife to 44 years old. And that has been kind of it was nice to do it when I did, like right before, right at the top of the year, like right on January 1st, because that was kind of it was a great even time, like a starting point, the first of the month. I'm not into New Year's resolutions. This is not a New Year's resolution. It was just a great time to hit the reset button and know exactly, like track through the year exactly kind of how I did with some of the goals I've set myself. So I'm a week in. It's exactly a week. I'm recording this Saturday night, January the 7th. It'll be going out Sunday morning. And I'd like to report on the first week and how that kind of weaves into time management as musician, parent, and somebody who's trying to be conscious of health and wellness and mental health, physical health, diet, nutrition, hydration, exercise, strenuous physical exercise and workout. So I really sort of have dialed in a super solid plan for myself. I've split it up for the way it works for me. Of course, everyone is going to be different. I can't tell you like, hey, this is totally going to work for you. You need to do on day one of your... So I should start with the fact that it's a 7-day cycle. I have a weekly plan for myself with one day of rest, and that's today, that's Saturday. The whole parenting thing is a big connect there because during the week, Chelsea actually has a new job, and it's kind of really full on and official, and it's huge. And I'll probably have her as a guest on the podcast so she can talk about it. I don't want to, let it out there before she says it herself. But it's pretty full on, and it is a full-time job, completely in music and as a musician and all these amazing things. Actually, maybe next week she should be on the podcast and she can tell you about that because it's really kind of crazy what she's doing right now. Super proud of her, and she's never been happier. It's like her dream job in music, which is just really amazing to be around. Really tough in places as well, because now that's like both of us have kind of ridiculously busy schedules as well as having a kid. And, it's one thing to be like, oh, I know I'm gigging like 4 or 5 nights a week. So if we're both gigging, we're going to need a babysitter. But if not, the other person can take care of the kid or what. It's not really that kind of, it's hard to say conventional with music, right? But it's really not that kind of musician partnership sort of conventional situation where it's the gigging economy. Even me, as not having like a full-time official corporate job of any kind, I'm still not... I still work quite a lot of hours, and my days are fairly full. So anyway, the schedule is as follows. What is working for me? Sunday, I kind of kick things off on a Sunday and do something pretty high intensity in the cardio department, HIIT, high intensity interval training. I'm getting about a 10-minute warm-up in, and then 45 to 55 minutes of pretty intense training that really sort of kickstarts me into the week. And it's quite flexible in terms of what follows then, because it depends. I like to switch it up. I don't like to do exactly the same HIIT routine every Sunday. Like, I don't like to do exactly the same exercises. So one Sunday it might go kind of heavy on the legs, for instance. There might be a lot of jumping or a lot of short sprints or something like that. So even though I like to do super heavy legs on Monday, if I've done a lot of legs on Sunday, I might push the leg workout to Tuesday and flip in whatever I had on Tuesday to Monday. So as much as I've set myself a schedule, it's more of a bucket of things I can do over 6 days of exercising, of working out, and I can sort of mix and match them depending on what the smaller metrics are within each day of workout. So I try not to do like back-to-back. I absolutely do not do back-to-back heavy on any part of the body. I like to leave at least 48 hours of recovery for the legs to go do something again. And I do one big leg thing a week, like squats and like, you know, what you might consider kind of a traditional heavy leg, single squats, like all kinds of stuff, like the basic gamut of leg workouts. And I'll also try and like get a kind of secondary leg workout in later in the week, which isn't as specific as, oh, these are squats or deadlifts or whatever. But what I'm doing, maybe it's sprints later on in the week or something, or jumps. What I'm doing is kind of a secondary leg workout after they've recovered from earlier on in the week. So basically, high intensity interval training, a big leg workout. I have a day where I do kind of mainly upper body, neck, torso, that kind of thing. I have a day where I do kind of a level 2 cardio, like it's not a flat out by any means, but it's not a slow jog either. It's kind of middling. It's not high intensity, but and I do it for an hour. So it's a proper kind of run. You know, it might end up being, I don't know, in an hour, I'm probably going to do 6 miles or something like that. Maybe I'm doing, 6, is that right? That doesn't sound right. I think that's about right. All I know is I do have about an hour's run, and it's all hills where I live as well. So there's nothing on the flat. So even if I'm not pushing any boundaries in terms of the speed or the miles per hour, I'm actually getting quite a variation in the workout. And it's keeping the intensity, keeping the sweat going really helps my VO2 max, my cardio situation. So what do we got? HIIT, legs, upper body, neck. Got the run for about an hour. Then I'm doing some I do one day where there's like heavy arms and like calves or something like that, like isolate 2 parts of the body. And then one day where there's like super heavy core. So the secondary leg workout might be jumping and core one day, for instance. So I'll combine some things. But anyway, that's basically my 6 days of working out right now. This is how I'm doing it to start the year. The last episode of the podcast, I did mention that it was something that I had to, number one, ease into because I haven't been training that hard for the last few months. And I've been in some poor eating habits, which hasn't been great on my body. So it's something I'm easing into. And at some point, especially we're experiencing some actual winter here in LA, some cold weather and some pretty serious rain. You might have heard about this bomb cyclone, I think they called it, that hit Northern California, and we got some remnants of that in Southern California. There are some inches of rain, which we desperately need, but it doesn't do too much for my ability to add tennis to my week as well. So at some point in a month or so, I will be able to add probably 3 times a week, a 60 to 90 minute workout of tennis, in addition to the 6 kind of gym-styled workouts that I'm already doing. So 6 times a week, plus 3 of those days should be 2 a day. So really, really burning some active calories every day, and really keeping the body moving, doing some heavy lifting, which is, I've been reading about that being great for bone density and just being one of the sort of training modalities that will serve me well in later life. And that's something I'm looking at. I'm looking at 20, 30, 40 years from now and being, active and strong and mentally competent, let's say. I want to be able to spend quality time with my family, basically. And now the way I'm doing that as a parent, now I just explained that Chelsea has this full-time job. I work a lot during the day. My days are generally, I'm up for about 18 hours a day. I do kind of 18 hours up and 6 hours sleeping. If I can make it 17 and 7, that's fantastic. 16 and 8 is kind of a super luxury and hasn't happened in a really long time. Just because A, there's so much work to do. B, now I really am making this huge effort to stay super healthy and in shape and be kind of committed and strict to that and focused. And, the baby is not sleeping 8 p.m. until 8 a.m. by any stretch of the imagination. She recently went through a really bad sleep regression where she was waking up. Her bedtime is 8, so she was going to bed at 8 and she was waking up at 11 and then 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m. and finally maybe Anyway, and then at like 7 a.m., like it was every 2 hours to feed. And then at 7 a.m., she wouldn't go back to sleep for that last hour unless she slept on me. So me and Chelsea were sharing all of those, wake ups during the night. So that upsets your sleep. So both of us are in this kind of sleep deprivation purgatory kind of thing. So that's a big consideration. But in general, my days are 17/7 or 18/6 in terms of waking hours to sleeping hours. And sometimes I'm able to get to bed early, but one of those hours, waking hours, will be isolated in the middle of the night, which is not great for sleep and for recovery. So that's kind of how my day looks. Now, with both of us having so much work and an intense schedule like that, Chelsea Chelsea does not go to daycare. Lily goes to daycare during the day, Monday through Friday. So I generally do the mornings. I'm a morning person. I love being up in the morning, and just that, all the things that go with that. And of course now I've kind of always been that way, but of course now like the morning is like hugely focused around my daughter. So she's up. We kind of like try and, again, she's recently, the last week or so, she slept from kind of 8 till 4, which is amazing. That's like 8 hours straight. That's been a real luxury. And then Chelsea does the 4 a.m. and I get up at, probably 6:30 or 7 to feed her. And then she sleeps on me for about an hour because she won't go back to sleep on her own just yet. But by 8 o'clock, we're up and about. So that's really like even though I may have spent time up during the night, if I've swapped with Chelsea or something, although I've woken up at maybe 6:30 or 7, really the day gets moving. My body is in motion at around 8. So we do breakfast. We don't have so much time to play in the mornings with the schedule the way it is right now. So it's kind of breakfast and then getting her ready to go to daycare. And I'm dropping her at daycare around 9. So I'm back in the house by about 9:15, 9:20. I get breakfast. I've switched so many things nutrition-wise this past week. I'll definitely want to report on that to you. I will say that I think I'm down about 7 pounds in the first week. I've lost about a pound a day. Feel lighter. I feel great. I've got tons more energy. We'll get to the specifics of the nutrition in a minute, but just, suffice to say, 8 a.m. I'm having breakfast with my daughter. I'm making her breakfast. I'm eating my breakfast. I'm getting my supplements within that first 45 minutes. Food and supplements within that first 45 minutes of being awake. So by the time we leave the house at 8:45, 8:50, I am fed and watered, as is she. And by the time I get back around 9:15, I then have this window I've given myself from 9:15 until about 10:30. And that has been kind of mix and match, but generally it's been a little bit of practice, maybe half an hour or 40 minutes of practice immediately. And depending how much sort of admin stuff I have to do, I try and get that done up until 10:30. So that's kind of the morning. And I've done it every day. I've been really disciplined this week. Obviously I'm reporting in the first week. It's like the honeymoon phase. I really hope there aren't any big disasters, or we don't all get sick again. It's been the last few months. My daughter's been bringing things home from daycare. She's building an immune system which she doesn't have yet. So that's yet another consideration that you cannot possibly plan for, musician or not. I know every parent out there knows about this. At one point, you might just all be sick, and that's not even COVID. That might just be a cold or the flu, or Snotty Pippin waking up every 2 hours like all night. So there are those things that you can't plan for. But so far, the start of the year, it's only been a week. Nobody's sick. Everything's running on schedule. And I've been super focused on making this sort of morning plan work. So 10:30 rolls around and I'm out of the house. I go walk between 1.5 miles and 2 miles, something like that. So between 10:30 and 10:50, I come straight back in the house. 10:50. Sometimes I've done that with a weight vest. Sometimes not. I'm just making sure I'm getting my steps in. I'm getting some direct sunlight. I'm out of the house. Even with the rain, and it's been kind of torrential lately, I've just braved it and gone out there, got soaked, changed as soon as I've come home, and straight back to it. So 10:50. After that is done, I'm straight into my. It's a warm up. Even though I have done the walk and I'm kind of warm, I will do some like specific resistance band stuff to get the upper body a little bit more warmed up if that's what I'm working on. But I'll dedicate that last 10 minutes of that hour to warming up. And at 11 o'clock, until 12 noon. That's the workout time. So all those workouts I talked about, they're happening between 11, it's late morning, 11 until 12. So I've eaten around 8:40, had my supplements, I'm hydrating the whole time, always got the bottle going. This is I think this is 64 ounces or something. It's big. It's a lot of liquid. It's 1.5 liters, maybe a couple of liters, I'm not sure. It's a lot of liquid. It's great to have around. I either have this with water and the juice of a lemon in it, or sometimes I'm using a thing called Drip Drop, which is an electrolyte kind of mineral sodium powder that I mix in there. Depends how intense my workout is. I don't need that if I'm in like a sedentary mode. If I'm just sitting here working, I don't need any of that. Right now it's just plain water. But if I'm sweating, if the workout is intense, there is obviously a little bit of sugar involved in that, although that is minimal in Drip Drop. But just the fact that I can be burning that immediately during the workout, that's when I can justify the ingestion of a little bit of sugar. Also, the payoff of the electrolytes and the minerals and all this other stuff that comes with Drip Drop is huge and kind of essential for that recovery and that hydration for the workout. So that's always on the go. Then the meal prep has been really key as well. I've kind of just every night I'm making every other night I'm making 2 cups of rice in the rice cooker. So I always have some white rice going, and I have it in the fridge cold. So lunch can be really quick in that sense. Also every couple of days I'm cooking chicken or I'm cooking some steak. I always have eggs in the fridge, so they're really quick to do some, couple of 2-3 fried eggs and a bowl of rice and some salad. Boom, that's lunch. So I could put a little bit of chicken in the rice as well. Really simple, really plain, really clean. Seasoned, with salt, and it's kind of no problem. I like a little bit of extra salt in my food, especially when I'm sweating. I don't want to be sodium deficient, so I'm always looking at that balance of sodium, what I need, what the weather is, how the humidity is, the heat, the temperature, how much I've been out in it, how much I'm actually sweating. So I am getting quite scientific with this. Like I mentioned before, in previous episodes about this kind of stuff, I did spend a considerable amount of time around some really high-end professionals in the world of nutrition and sports science and training and recovery and physios and. So I definitely kept my eyes and ears open and asked a lot of important questions and retain that information, and it's great to carry that forward. It's also not that difficult to find online. If you have a source that you trust, I highly recommend, if you have the time, getting into that, doing some research and seeing how that might help your daily process. Wow, so much talking requires much hydration. So that's it. 12. I'm having food. I have a couple more supplements happening then as well. I'm taking creatine. So that happens like 3 times a day, 2 tablets, just the way the dosage works out with the capsules that I have. I'm taking about 5 per serving is 1.5 grams. Yeah, I'm doing about 4.5 grams a day, 4.5 to 5 grams a day, and I take that over the course of the day. So 2 tablets is 1.5, and I take 2 tablets 3 times a day, pretty much 2 tablets after each meal. Although tonight I had a steak, and I didn't really feel like I needed that extra creatine. There's a bunch of creatine in steak like that, so didn't take it tonight. But that's generally, I use this Now Sports. They are not a sponsor of this podcast. I'm not being paid to say any of this. They're just nice and clean, and what is it? What is the NSF or what? I forget the abbreviation, but it's like it's okay. You're not going to get screwed over. They're super clean in their production, so they won't be tainted. If you're a professional athlete, you could be confident taking that. I also take this Super EPA, this fish oil dietary supplement, a couple of times a day. So the middle of the day, there are a few things to take after lunch, and then it's kind of like, okay, what's on the whiteboard? I don't actually have a whiteboard, but you can imagine like a to-do list on a whiteboard. I have one in my notes on my computer, and I can just run down like what's happening, and that is what gets injected into that next portion of the day, because I basically have from After lunch, somewhere around 12:30, 12:45, until about 4:45 when I have to go pick up my daughter again. So then I'm on duty 4:45 until she goes to bed at 10. And of course, Chelsea is sometimes here and we're together and we do dinner and all that kind of stuff all together. But sometimes Chelsea has to work late. She doesn't work particularly close to home, so she also has a commute. So quite often, if she's on location or she's at her office, or there are just a bunch of variables with that. So I'm basically planning on being 4:45 until 8 p.m. completely on duty, spend time with Lily, and we play, we eat, we always go for a walk together. Her in the stroller right now, she's not really walking. She's not knocking out miles with me every day. But today, for instance, my off day, Saturday's my off day. Today, if I look at my Apple Watch, is my off day. We walked so much today that I did 16,203 steps. That's on my off day. So we really get after it. We get out there, and it's great to spend time with her outdoors. So that's kind of the structure of the day. That's Monday through Friday. Saturday to me, Saturday and Sunday are all about whatever needs to happen with the family. If Lily goes for a nap for an hour and a half and Chelsea is doing something that she needs time to do and we're not doing something together, then I can say, okay, let me see what I can get to. But I don't plan now. That's my new thing. I do not plan to be working on a Saturday or a Sunday. Unless it's something that's booked, unless it's something I have to go to the studio to do, or there's a gig, or maybe I'm on tour, then everything changes. But at home, Saturday, Sunday, I dedicate to whatever's going on with the family and spending as much time doing that stuff as possible. And also catching up. Like today I did 5 loads of laundry. I'm still not done. I went out with Lily 3 times for a walk, all kinds of stuff, like domestic stuff. The dishwasher needs doing 3 times. I've got to do Lily's laundry and fold it all and put it away. It just, you guys and girls know domestic stuff has to happen. So that's what I'm into on the weekends. I'm not trying to be like, oh my God, I need 12 hours to practice today. No, if I can sneak in, and today I didn't. I haven't played today at all. It's kind of a little sad. But that's the other thing. If you're going to be focused on the goal, and if it means that much to you, if the goal and the process and the fun, the joy, the feeling you get out of doing all the things I've just said is like you're investing into that. If it's giving you this massive return, which it is for me, like even in just 1 week, I've been 1,000% more productive. I have 3 new projects kind of planned and in the schedule. So many other things on the back burner that I'm like, oh, that would be really cool. And this would be great. And this, that, and the other thing. One of those big things, actually, before we get any further, and I should have done this right up front in the video, there's basically no way around the fact that I kind of believe, you have to give me some feedback on this, I kind of believe that YouTube, of all the outlets on the internet, is kind of the last place where long form art of some sort can exist. And the art can exist in tandem with the algorithm. I haven't quite figured out how to do it, and I'm not about to just cut a bunch of corners and be Mr. Hacks and Tips and Tricks. That's still a complete no-no, and the clickbait thing and all that stuff. I'm not trying to play that game, but I am aware of the fact that those numbers don't lie. And when you look at people who have popular channels, whose channels are populated with many subscribers and great interaction, and obviously great art for the subscribers to consume, there's no way around that. You have to be engaging, I think. To me, there's kind of no way around it. For me, having just shunned social media entirely and got rid of it because it was such a time suck, I kind of feel like YouTube is a place to present what I do, as I am here with you. And to that end, I need to absolutely step up my game and really make some shit happen. But there's no way around it. This is like, failure cannot be an option here, because there are so many things I want to do that I feel, with a sizable enough audience via YouTube predominantly. Of course, with my Substack, I want that to grow It is growing like crazy. Thank you for that. That is really awesome to see people's enthusiasm about that coming back to the thing every day, and thousands upon thousands of people reading the articles and listening to the podcast and listening to the crazy little rare snippets of audio and all that stuff I post there. That is amazing. That is it gives me a great feeling of artistic fulfillment when I do that. And the cherry on top is when it's received the way it has been the past 6 weeks of doing it, and only seems to be getting better. That's amazing. I just want to pair that with YouTube, because that is where I'm going to be able to host and present so much, so much content like this. So the goal is, I mean, it might be a crazy goal. I don't know. I'm already at almost 70,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm well aware that subscribers, in the grand scheme of things, almost don't mean that much in terms of the success of the channel. You get someone with 500 subscribers that has 1 million views on a video. So I know subscribers don't equal views, but the critical mass you can arrive at, or just that inertia you can gain, the momentum you can gain and keep growing, if it starts to move towards some serious numbers, to me is sort of undeniable. Everyone I see who's successful on the platform, everyone I see kind of doing the things I want to do, having a successful YouTube channel, but also being able to tour and play nice venues and kind of do what they want when they want. I have a lot of respect for people who do that. I've always done that. I just haven't done it with a huge crew on YouTube, and I don't want to think like, that's not really my thing, because it kind of has been my thing. I've had a YouTube account since the year they started, and I've been doing it for a while. So now I really want to kind of get serious about it and give it a real go. Stop pissing around and just posting random this and random that, and not really caring about the thumbnail, not really caring about the title, just, that, the art will speak for itself. Well, actually it won't. There's a reason the algorithm's there. It does actually show people stuff that they enjoy. I know that because it shows me stuff I enjoy all the time. So that over the past couple of months has got me thinking that there is a way to do it. Integrity doesn't pay the bills, but I think it builds enough of a following, or could potentially build enough of a following, without going the beast mode or the clickbait, all that kind of title bullshit that you see all over YouTube, and get rich quick, and you could buy a Lambo, and this is going to the moon, and the I don't know, the 5 things you never knew about 1/4-inch cables for bass. Whatever. I think there's content to be made there that actually contains similar information, but presented from a place of experience and knowledge. And if I don't have the knowledge, I'm really excited to talk to people that do. So part of the future of the YouTube channel, I think, is to make a regular schedule of releases. If you've been following along the last couple of weeks, you'll notice that part of my day, part of my time management as a musician parent, has been to post a lot more shorter clips interspersed with longer form videos like this, in the form of a podcast episode. And I've kind of been testing the water, like, what videos do people want to see? I've only posted stuff that I like. I'm still doing it for me first. And then if the audience likes it, hey, that's awesome. So what I've done over the past couple of weeks is posted clips that I believe in, that I like. I made them for a reason. I made them because they work for me, or they were moments that I enjoyed, or there was a Jojo Mayer interview clip, for instance. There was a Victor Wooten interview clip. Those are all on my channel. I've been posting every day. I think every day is a little too much. I don't think people have the time. And I think some of the podcasts and some of the YouTube channels, more importantly, that I see with the most success and the best audience engagement and the best fans, who truly want to be there, have a pretty regular schedule, and they kind of don't overdo it. So I'm thinking in the lines of, let's post one kind of lesson video a week, one kind of gear video a week, and one podcast. Maybe it'll be a Sunday morning thing. Maybe it'll be a weekend podcast every Sunday morning like this, one long form hour. Because I sit here, I talk to you guys and girls. Sometimes I'm going to have an interview. I'm going to get people. I've got a couple of people I'm really excited to talk about. I can't tell you about them yet, but like really cool bass players that I think you're going to dig, and you're going to be like, oh, really? You know those guys? Like, what the fuck? You know, so, and not even like, oh, you know those guys, like they're celebrities. No, just like that I'm aware of them and into them and interested in them. I hope you dig that connection. So really excited to do that. So yeah, a couple of dedicated things that come out every week, a lesson and a gear thing perhaps, because there's a ton of stuff in here. I've just got to figure out the production because I'm still one person and I've got to figure out scaling all of that stuff. And I'm not a review channel. I don't want to do it for that. I want to make some videos once in a while. Maybe the gear thing will be the least frequent thing I do, but I have so much lesson material. Obviously with Janek's Bass Studios has over 1,000 videos and just so many little things I can share that will be short enough and sweet enough to actually give you massive value in a short space of time and not overwhelm you. That's the idea. And then clips. You have to give me some feedback on the clips. Do you guys dig the clips, the short 3, 4, 5 minute videos? I've been clipping them out of the podcast. I've been clipping them out of lesson videos, out of my transcription vault from the Bass Studio. Give me some feedback on that. This is one of those episodes where I really need a lot of response in the comments below the video on YouTube. That is really going to be key. Because I want to listen to you guys, you know, I want to listen to what's going to hit the hardest and where do we connect there. Like you might tell me like, oh, we just want to learn all about bass tab and slap. Well, fuck, we're not going to connect on that at all. But if you say, oh, well, we're really interested in this kind of jazz, or we're really interested in this kind of like articulation or technique or something, okay, great. Then we connect, and then I can make something for you that I do every day and is a massive part of my life and will benefit you as a subscriber to the channel. So one thing I heard, I can't remember who it was being interviewed. I'm going to butcher it, but it was something like, just pick a hero. Like, who's a hero of yours? Like, I don't know, Bob Dylan or Jimi Hendrix or Miles Davis or I don't know, whoever it is. Like, pick a hero. And could you really imagine them in the video where it like, chung, 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 you know, like all these jump cuts where it jumps. This is like very kind of modern influencer type editing where they bounce. It's the master shot, the one you're looking at right now, but they cut in and out and in and out and in and out to keep your attention. Could you imagine that where it goes do 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 do, and it's like Levon Helm from the band or something like, y'all might want to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, like who could ever picture Ornette Coleman saying, yeah, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe and click the bell for notification. That just sounds so fucking dumb coming from like a legend like that. But what I've come to realize is that is a bygone era, and holy shit, do you need to like, comment, and subscribe in order to help me grow the channel and do more of this stuff and make it bigger and better and more value, etc., 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 all of that stuff. So don't underestimate the value of just being subscribed. And of course, liking and commenting always helps fly the content up the algorithm and get it to more people and grow the community and make it a real thing, you know, not just some. Also make it a really a thing that's really motivating for me to come back and do. Like, I like that. You know, it's like, it's crazy with the Substack, with the blog. I was like, oh, let me try this, you know, and I'm in it. And I was, I'm in it. And I'm focused. I had to make 2-3 posts. I'm like, oh, that was fun. And just as you're turning away from it, and there are like 10,000 people on that list, right? Currently at my Substack. It's kind of crazy. It's a lot of people in it. And just you're like, oh, well, this is free for everyone. And then somebody pays for a subscription. And you're like, oh, shit. And then another person, and like suddenly like 20, 30, 40 people are paying for subscriptions to the blog, to this thing that's been around like 25 years or more. This concept is the one page of you writing your thoughts, and people are like, oh, there's some value in here. I quite like this. It's delivered to my email, and I trust this person, so I'm going to pay them for it. I'm going to support. And then as soon as that happens, like, whoa, that changes the dynamic. And for some people, that could be a little, create some anxiety. Like, oh shit, there's pressure now. For me, it's like, holy shit. And it's not like, wow, if I keep doing this, I'm going to make millions of dollars. That's never, ever the plan. When I make money, it's to live and to eat. Of course, I have a family, great. But it's always to like sort of reinvest into the into what I'm doing and make more art and do more things and put more stuff out and put more ideas out into the world. I'm not trying to buy a Lamborghini. I like watches. It's I don't know. The horological, I'm like a crazy fan of watches. I have a reasonably nice one I'm wearing now. I have a few pieces that I've collected that altogether wouldn't, if I sold them all, I still wouldn't be able to afford like a Rolex Daytona or something super fancy. And why am I saying this? Well, because Casey Neistat's brother, made this video about materialism, and he made this thing about, is it the Toyota Land Cruiser and that guy Ward, I forget, is it Tom Ward or something Ward? It's TLC 4x4. I've seen some great interviews with him. He basically makes these Toyota Land Cruisers, and they're like, I don't know, $300,000, and it's a $15,000 car, but he basically makes them perfect. And Van Neistat was talking about that. He has one. It's old, barely gets up the road into the canyon. I'll link to the thing, actually. If you watch on YouTube, I'll link to Van Neistat. I got to make a note of that, so I make sure link to Van's Toyota video. And he's saying, like, he did a Kickstarter to start his YouTube channel, and all of these people came on board, and he's making this money from them. And he's like, how do I justify this outrageous purchase? He doesn't have the money. He said he's not even close to having that kind of money. He said, I'm not even close to having that kind of scratch. But it's like a dream. And he's like he said, he doesn't want for Lamborghinis and swimming pools and private jets and all that stuff. He wants this thing, and it's like an outrageously it's not a private jet, it's not a Bugatti. It's not a $10 million home, but it is, compared to most people on Earth, an outrageously expensive purchase for 4 wheels and an engine to go from A to B. But still, it's an interesting video. You should go watch it. It made me think, like, I absolutely want this one watch, which is an obscene amount of money to spend on a piece of 300-year-old technology. But it brings me a lot of joy. And it's something, if I had it, I would wear every single day until I die. But still, it's not something I can afford. It's not something I'll probably own for many, many years or decades to come. And it's not even the crazy. Again, it's like it's almost like the Toyota Land Cruiser of the watch world. It's not a Richard Mille. It's not a $1 million Patek minute repeater or split second chrono in platinum or something. It's not a grand complication. It's Audemars Piguet Royal Oak offshore chrono. It's not cheap, but it's not crazy. But also, how on earth do you justify that? All of that to say that money and material things are not the goal when I'm doing any of this. The goal is to, yes, be able to provide for my family 100%, be able to live comfortably. Why not? Although a little discomfort sometimes is a big kick in the ass and a great motivator that I highly recommend. And I've lived uncomfortably for a large portion of my life. So I've been highly motivated a lot, and it has pushed me to be better at what I do. But yeah, all of that long-winded way of saying, like, when people start paying for it and people start being that involved, I don't find pressure. I find joy in that. And then you see people, like, even that that are involved. Oh, I know that person. Holy shit! I talk to that person, and they're paying for my Substack blog, and that is like, that's probably the moment when there's the most pressure, when you see someone that But still, not really. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm definitely motivated to be honest, to to create, as great a product as I possibly can, or art, let's say. So yeah, that's been amazing with the Substack thing. That's growing. Like, every day people are signing up. I have to get way better at getting people into that, because I think it's a great funnel community kind of thing to be in. If you're into what I do, I think it's a great place. For me, it's an amazing place as a creator too. Creator. I hate that word. For me, it's a great place as an artist to put ideas out into the world and to connect with and hear back from and be a part of that community with you guys. So whatever, below the video, Substack, go subscribe to it. It's totally free as well. Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on there with the YouTube thing. Trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by April. The goal is 1 million plus, and I'm not even saying that's not. I'm not bullshitting. Like, that is the goal. Like, 1 million plus seems to be the tipping point for a lot of things right now. That seems to be a metric that opens a lot of doors and allows me to do way more and reach the kind of numbers of people where it makes sense for me to be able to leave home and tour and play live. Like, to me, the ultimate goal, as it has been since the day I started playing this music, has been to perform live. You know, my goal was never to sit here in front of a camera and talk to you about this stuff and upload it to YouTube. As fun as that is, and as you can see if you're watching on YouTube, I pulled a couple of lights out of storage, sort of tidied up the back, pulled the couch back in. I'm going to actually dedicate some time over the coming weeks to build a set in here so it actually looks kind of nice on camera. Even now, I see I'm looking at my monitor. It's a little lighter and brighter than the previous episodes. You can actually see my eyes, which is a good way to convey emotion and honesty, I hope. So yeah, even though this wasn't the plan, it's definitely a useful tool and, you know, paving stone in the path along the way to ultimately doing what I want to do, which is perform live and make records and play for you all. That's it. And to be able to justify leaving my family and taking time from my life to do that, it's a big balancing act, and a few things have to fall in place, and they kind of have to fall in place. I don't want to pressure myself to do it, but I want to get moving on this now. It's been too long, basically, where I've let it kind of just simmer. I saw a thing today. We're getting off track, but I'm kind of don't mind. I've actually got notes here, so I'm not going to get that off track. I just want to talk about a thing I heard today, literally this afternoon or something. I can't remember what it was. I was like in the kitchen prepping for dinner or something, and I was listening to a podcast interview. And the advice was, what the moment I took from this 1 hour and like 20-minute interview or three-way call or something, the one thing I took out of it was like, okay, look at all the things you do. Like, this is about business and about growing your business and about developing community and all that kind of stuff, because I'm really studying it quite intensely right now and looking for ways I can improve my process and streamline it all and be more efficient and, yeah, just be better. And the thing I got out of this talk, this conversation, was like, look at everything you're doing. Look at all the business avenues you currently have available to you that you are currently administering. So we could look at that for me. I have a career as a recording artist. I have a career as a live performing artist. I think those are two separate things right now. I have yanexbassstudio.com. That's an online teaching site. I have all my books, for instance. So that's the store. That's 4 avenues. I have the YouTube channel. That's 5. I have the Substack. That's 6. And they're all streams of income on some level or another. Obviously, for me, the big one, the one that I actually make a living at more than anything, is the sale of books at my store and through Amazon. So you could even separate out and make the books from my store and from Amazon 2 different things, because they really do operate quite differently, one being physical, one being digital. So that's 7. That's 7 right there without even thinking about it. I just got rid of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. So that kind of takes 3 off the table, and they were never income streams anyway. So I think that's kind of whatever. There are a few you could kind of sprinkle in that aren't really regular, but they have existed in the past, as recently as a few months ago, in terms of like doing live clinics. And you could put like sort of live teaching as another one as well. So like there could be 8 or 9 income streams already. And I know I'm forgetting something. I don't know what it is, but there's something in there. So let's 8 or 9 income streams, maybe 5 or 6 that I would put as higher importance. The advice was, sorry, this is taking so long to explain. The advice was, take a look at all of those things. And if you had to start all over again from scratch with each one of them, A, would you even bother doing them? And B, what would you do differently right now? Because of inertia, because you get in this place where, oh, it's ticking over. Okay, I write a book. Okay, I launch it to my mailing list. Oh, it sells this number of copies. Oh, shit, well, 2022 wasn't as great as 2019. Oh, well, I wonder why that was. Don't give it too much thought. You move on. You write another book. You launch it to your mailing list. You sell some copies. And you kind of just tick over. And it's like, oh, okay, well, right. Let's look at my biggest selling thing. And it's not selling as much as it could or should. There's a much bigger audience out there than I'm reaching for sure. And, you know, although the format and the content of the books may be, yes, that's something I like. That's something me and Chelsea have developed over some years. That's the one thing that is actually great about it. Like we have a concept and there's an arc and there's all this information, like, you know, concisely and compactly put into these books. Everything that surrounds it, I would do differently. So that's it. So that's one of the things I'm working on right now, is like changing all of those outlets to be more efficient, to be more productive, and maybe even shutting a couple of them down that are just, yeah, you know what? I'm not as passionate about it as I was maybe 10 years ago when I started the thing. Is there something similar that I'm more passionate about now that I could start up as a new business or a new project? Absolutely. And I have a couple of those things that I'm like, okay, 2023 is definitely the year to do that. So yeah, really just a kind of a step back, and I look at the bigger picture and then dissect each lane and be like, okay, this is working and I love it. Great. It's good the way it is. I wouldn't change anything about that at all if I had to start it from scratch. But these 5 things over here, holy shit, they got to go, or they got to change, or I've got to hire someone. I need to scale up. Like all of these considerations. I think that's really healthy to do, has been for me, like just literally today, since this afternoon, like thinking about it for a few hours, just in the background, ticking over like, oh, this and that and all this. It got me thinking about the YouTube channel. I've had a YouTube channel since, 2006? I have my channel up here. Let's see. I think it shows you the exact day that you joined. July 23rd, 2006. And I don't think it shows me the number of videos I have on my own channel, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere between 750 and 1,000. And I did just get an email saying the channel's had over 10 million views. There's a drop in the ocean for other, you think of channels that are out there, even some channels like more like meme stuff that doesn't really count, like Davey 504 is like, okay, that's just entertainment. That doesn't really have anything to do with music or anything except memes as far as I can tell. And that's doing like bonkers numbers. That's kind of an outlier of a channel. But you look at like an Adam Neely who's got 1.7, I don't know, 1 point something million, probably 2 million by the time I'm recording this. He had over 1 million when I interviewed him 2 years ago on the podcast. He's doing bonkers numbers and his band's touring all over the world, and he has a regular upload schedule. Basically, all the things he talked about in the interview 2 years ago, I'm finally realizing right now for myself. Could probably help me out a lot and really kick into gear some things that I've wanted to do for a long time. So that's it. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to say it. I'm not fucking Jimi Hendrix or Kurt Cobain or some superstar or legend. I'm just not. But I am someone who's super passionate about what I do, and I think YouTube might really help do that. And it costs you nothing. Literally costs you nothing. If you truly hate what I upload after you subscribe, by all means, go click the unsubscribe button. But it costs you nothing, and it is a massive help. Even just giving the video a thumbs up is huge. I believe that helps the algorithm in a big way. And yeah, so we crossed 10 million views 8 days ago. And I get about, let me see, I'm looking at my stats. I get about 260 subscribers every month. That's not so many. That's not even 10 a day, really. It's less than 10 a day. And to get to 100,000, I got to get almost wow, that's a lot. Not 1,000 a day. I got to get almost, I've got to get that much a day basically until the end of April to hit 100,000. So let's see. let's see what happens. I think also it's not just you guys liking, commenting, and subscribing. It's also sharing the stuff as well. So if you are so inclined to do that, even better. I know that is a big ask and that's invasive, and you all have your own algorithms and stuff you're working on. I don't expect that of everyone, or of anyone actually. But believe me, it does help if you are so inclined. So enough about that. Let's get into one thing I didn't mention about what my daily practice. Let me see. How do I want to say this? Yes. One thing I didn't mention about what my daily practice routine kind of encapsulates that kind of 9:20 until 10:30 time period where I kind of have to practice. I'm actually looking over here to the side. I've been working on some classical music recently, some stuff I used to play as a classical guitarist. I'm holding up Johann Sebastian Bach's Lauten music. It's lute music, lute suites. I'm playing this saraband from, which one is this? From suite number 3. It's so sad as well because my classical guitar teacher passed away kind of a long time ago now, maybe 12, no, maybe longer than that, about 14 years ago. And this is, I saw his handwriting in here from all of my lessons, and these are things I have not stopped thinking about or using in my playing every day. And just don't be late. Like he's written this. I don't want to openly bend the book because it's so fragile now. But if I can hold this up to the camera, and you can see he's written. You can see all those markings, actually. He's written, don't be late, and just like all these things, like these details, these nuances. Wow, I'm getting so emotional, sorry. And just seeing this again. I see this every day, and it really hits me because I've been working on this a little bit on the bass. I'll try and play some on an episode once I get it back under my fingers. But yeah, he's got the dates are in here, like May 6th, 1996, we were working on this, and just all the little details, the nuance, like the thing I kind of think is missing from a lot of modern music right now, and definitely missing from the whole social media lane of people who kind of call themselves musicians, but basically what they do is make 5 to 30-second videos for social media. Like there's so many of the things my guitar teacher, his name was Peter Woodings, so many of the things he wrote in there, dynamics and articulation and anticipation of being able to read and anticipate what's coming as you sight read. There are thousands of things I learned from him, which I can't stress that enough. Like the importance of having an amazing teacher at some point in your life, if you have the chance. It doesn't matter what point in your life it is either, I don't think. If you're 70 years old and you find an amazing teacher now, what years you have left will benefit greatly from an experience like the one I had with Peter. And just all of these little things that I now, these, like he says, slightly staggering here in this one passage, which was it was this kind of falling sensation, like you were, and I've always remembered that, like a way of articulating, a way of phrasing a certain way, and certain like descending passages, and quite specific to this style of playing and to this lute music that was adapted for guitar, but absolutely priceless information and experience from being able to study with someone like that, who really understood nuance. Anyway, sorry, I got a little bit off there, but that's some of the stuff I've been working on in my daily practice routine, as well as some fundamental technique stuff. Had my first gig of the year a couple of days ago with Bob Reynolds at the Baked Potato. Super fun, but definitely was made aware of how different playing technique is when you practice versus when you play. And there are just some things you cannot recreate when you practice. You cannot recreate a drummer being 3 feet away and having to play, I was going to say against, there is having to play with, but also, volume wise against that or with that or exist in that situation. There's just way more strain on the technique when you do that. And it's very hard to recreate that in the practice room. unless you have the luxury of a drummer being around with you, which my neighbors thank me for. I don't. So let's get to these 3 projects. Let's close out with that. Let's make the little, not announcement, just letting you guys know what I kind of have coming and what's cooking here. The first thing is, after the, okay, again, I didn't make any money from it last year, but I still deem it like the most successful recording project I've ever led, let's say. After this great success of that, mainly because it didn't cost me any money. We kind of broke even on the project, thanks to the pre-sale and thanks to everyone who was involved. Again, had the YouTube channel had 100,000 or 200,000, 500,000 subscribers, and the audience was bigger and wider, let's say, from maybe more countries in the world. I know my YouTube channel is based predominantly in the US and the UK and Germany, Italy, Australia, Japan. Like, there are a few places. Maybe if we would have some more far-reaching subscribers, we could have done even crazier things. And crazier things is what I'm looking at doing in 2023. I'm already talking to my engineer about it. He lives down in Buenos Aires. So it would be really great to take the trio to South America. We're already planning Europe and Asia and stuff with my booking agent, but that's what they're doing for me. They're doing Europe and Asia, so I'm kind of on my own for the US, for the Americas, basically. Oh, the voice is getting worn out even. You don't do a podcast for a week and speak this long on your own. Christ, I need to do more interviews and speak less. Let's make a note about that. The basic plan, project number 1, probably the biggest project of the year actually, is to, of course, do a new album. But the way in which I want to do it is get the band to South America and really play some shows. Like, we already have a vibe now. We've been in the studio for a few days and made this record, which I'm super proud of. I love the way they play. I love the chemistry we have, that we had in the studio, that we had on the road not that long ago, and I know we can easily have again as a trio. I also loved working with Juan Pablo again after all these years, and he's kind of scoped out a couple of situations in Buenos Aires to maybe do the record there in South America. But what I want to do is take the band and play some shows before that. So I am going to try as hard as I can over the next few months to see if it's possible to play my dream list. You know what? I'm going to pull up the text message that I sent to Juan Pablo, because I had it. It was kind of nice. Like, I did the routing and everything. And these are some of the places. Let's see. I've been to Costa Rica a few times and really love it there. Like, I really love it there. So I would love to include Costa Rica probably as the first stop. So maybe San Jose in Costa Rica. I'd love to play Bogota, Quito, Lima, Santiago, Montevideo, and then Buenos Aires. And then, like, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 shows. So a week of shows, and then like 3 or 4 days in the studio, like we did before in Spain, but do it there in South America. It's super cheap, but can be super high quality. And my engineer lives there, so amazing combination of things. Actually go on the road, play some shows, hopefully that will bring some income, which will help fund the whole thing. And then things like accommodation and food and the logistics get a little bit cheaper in South America, and just an amazing set of circumstances in which to record. Something I've never done before. I've never made a record in Argentina, even though I've toured in South America a lot. And that's kind of one of the reasons, I want to get back to that audience. I want to get back there and play for you guys down there, because there's something, not that there isn't something special about everywhere I go in the world, but just with this particular project in mind and what I want to do with it, I think this is an amazing setting to do that. I have great memories from being in all of those places that I'm associating with what I want to do in the studio for the new record. So that's like the biggest of the projects for the year, for sure. And hopefully we can do something similar to what we did last time and do a pre-sale. Like, that's not a crowdfunded thing. That's not a Kickstarter. There's no monetary goal that needs to be met before it goes into production. If I say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this regardless of how many people are on board with it ahead of time. So that is that. So let's see. I'm going to start kind of ramping up ideas, and really, I have to kick it around a little bit. This is only in the last 10 days that I've been thinking about this seriously. So I have to kick it around for another couple of weeks, run some numbers, look at flights, look at the logistics, like have a budget of like, okay, what is this actually going to cost? Is this like, I'm saying it's cheap to do it in South America, but is it like a $50,000 tab at the end of the day? Or is it like, One Way Out in Spain, which I think came in at under 15K all in, and we made a documentary about it. Like, that was insane. So $15,000-$20,000 with 500 or 600 people involved. If we could get it to 1,000, I mean, that's pretty crazy. 1,000 people pay $20. Like, the numbers, like, once you grow the audience big enough, if 1,000 people are involved at $20, we can do something that is unbelievable. I think. We can have a Fazioli, and we can have like 4 days in the studio, and we can play these shows, and we can be in the best musical shape of our lives, and provide, come up with a performance that's really going to mean something, and something that's going to last, and something that I think we will enjoy, essentially. Like, I think we will enjoy doing it, and as a result, that will come across in the recording and hopefully connect with people. So that's the big one. There is a lot of feedback you guys are going to give me on this. I want to hear everything in the comments below this one, even though this is a long-ass episode. And if you've made it this far, you are true coffee drinker, true warrior. Actually, you know what? These other two projects, I don't know if I want to talk about them right now. I'm so hyped up on the South America thing that seems so big. The other two might be like, yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to save those. Sorry, I don't mean to be a tease, but it's better to save those. They're so completely different and not as big or in the same lane. And let's like keep on this audience, this community, this growth, this kind of goal to getting out in the world. And what is it the kids say? IRL, in real life, like actually doing shit, being in the same room as each other. That's what I want to be doing. That is the biggest focus of the year. I think it's a great place to end the podcast. Definitely, if you can, subscribe to the channel. It really helps. It really does. And if you can like the video, leave a comment. I mean, really, the comments to me are the biggest thing, like the most valuable thing personally, because I can like actually listen to you and hear what you have to say. And like, oh, a venue in Quito, like that would be perfect for this trio. Or you have somewhere in Lima, which is just the bomb. Like, tell me that shit. Like, give me the feedback. Whether you're listening at Substack and you can comment there, or you're listening at YouTube, excuse me, you can comment there. Just get on it and be a part of the conversation. It all helps. The more information I have, the better armed I am to succeed. So, yeah. And I'm looking at my list of notes here. I've got this amazing podcast note going on now across all my devices. So I have some really fun things to talk about in the coming weeks. And as I said, I'm kind of really trying to keep on a schedule here and keep streamlined with the Sunday podcast every Sunday morning. Hopefully that works for you. Give me some feedback on that too. Always curious. And that's it. I'll catch you guys and girls off the base of the music world on the next episode.